in talking with other people about Game of Thrones and listening to people talk about certain characters, I've come to a realization that I think that a problem that happens when you're interpreting the characters is the aging up of certain characters, especially the Stark children, in order to make them more acceptable for television. Because I feel like you have characters who are written as a certain age, then aged up, but their storylines and characteristics are still retained from when they were younger, and therefore you have these older people doing these actions that seem silly because they're older. They should be more mature than this. They should have more sense than this. But because their original characters are so much younger than they actually are in terms of maturity, and 1 or 2 years can make a whole lot of difference in how you see the world. I am the same person I was 3 years ago, and the same person I was 2 years ago, and I think that those aspects of age in the show really hamper and hinder some ideas of who these characters are. I took the characters' birthdays and I subtracted it from the year 298, which is the year that takes place in Game of Thrones. And if you want to add 1 year, it would probably be what it is now, but I'm not really sure if it's been... No, it's not 299 yet. I don't believe so. I believe the next book is when it becomes 299. So right now, the ages that I mentioned for these characters are how old they should be, and if you want to, add up an age, that would probably be more accurate. But these are the ages of these characters. So Ned, he was, because he's like 35 years old. Catelyn, 35. Sansa, 11. Arya, 9. Jon Snow is 15. Bran is 8. Tyrion is 24.
Renly was 21, Stannis is 33, Cersei is 32, Dany is 14, Joffrey is 12, the Hound, this is the one that surprised me the most, I would say, is 27, Robert Baratheon was 35, and Theon Greyjoy is 19 years old. So as you can see, a lot of these characters have been aged up. I would say the biggest ones would be Ned, Cat, and Robert are all about 45, 46 years old. So they added 10 years to their age. Sansa was aged up to 13. I believe they aged Arya up to 11. I'm not sure. Bran is 10. Jon and Robb are, for some reason, 17. I think they're 17 years old. And Cersei would be in her 40s as well. She'd be about 42, same as Jaime. And Dany, I believe she's still 15, but at the same time, you have this disconnect between the characters as they're written and the characters' ages. You have, Richard Madden, who's playing Robb right now, and Robb obviously looks older. He looks like he's about 20 years old, but he's actually written as 15, and his character is supposed to be in the show 17. But there's a disconnect because he still acts the same 15-year-old teenager as he did in the series, and yet he's older, and so it looks strange. Same thing with Sophie Turner, and both of them Sophie Turner and Richard Madden both play their roles really well, but even with Sophie, it's like she looks 15, 16, because that's how old she was when she was doing both seasons, but her character is written as 11, then aged up to 13, but then you have this grown girl playing this little kid, and so when you see her do these things, it just seems strange, because it's like, shouldn't she be smarter than that? Because she's, 15, 16, but I have to always remind people, like, no, she's written as 11, and she was aged up to 13, and even so, like, her 13 years old, how she was written is really weird, because they cut out a lot of the fact that she's very, young and wide-eyed and naive, in the sense that, like, she's childish, and replace it with teen angst, but the naivety of her teenage kind of angstiness doesn't really work well with the character as it's been written. So it's like they're trying to, like, balance it and make it, work, but at the same time it doesn't. And also other characters suffer for it, like Kat. A lot of her character is taken away to make Robb look more mature because he's being aged up. But at the same time, they're taking away all of Catelyn's scenes to show that she plays a very important role in helping Robb win the sword, because they want to make Robb look his age and seem more mature and manly, but then he still has the same weaknesses he has when he was 15, which was going to come up, you know, as we get into the whole storyline with the chick he's following around. The girl said that she's from Valestria or whatever, even though she's probably not. But so there is this weird disconnect between how the characters are written and what they look like. And I feel like it makes it hard to understand why these characters act the way they do if you don't realize what their ages are originally and how that plays a part in what's been going on with them. So that's why I did this little video. And so I had to ask you, do you think the aging up, from a character standpoint, not from an acting standpoint, because that had to be fixed anyway, but from a character standpoint, do you think the aging up helps or hinders the characters and how they develop?